Before we begin, take a breath and understand one thing. The person you are today is not the final version of you. Deep inside, there is a stronger, wiser, and unbreakable self waiting to be awakened, a version capable of controlling emotions, transforming pain into power, and walking through life with purpose instead of fear. This video is not just another motivational speech. It is a path of 10 lessons that reshape the mind from the inside out. The same principles that built warriors, leaders, and thinkers who refused to be ruled by chaos. Every second of this journey matters, because a single detail can be the difference between repeating the past or creating a new future. So stay with me until the end. Follow every step carefully. And if you want more content that pushes you to evolve, leave your like now, not as a gesture for us, but as a commitment to yourself. Those who choose to walk this path fully never remain the same, and some places on the internet are designed to activate exactly that transformation without saying it directly. Keep watching. In the dark stillness of early morning, before the world remembers its noise, a question echoes in the minds of those who dare to search for meaning. What does it truly take to become someone better? That question haunts the soul, not with fear, but with a whisper that demands transformation. As the first lesson of 10 reveals itself, we confront the ancient challenge once faced by warriors, emperors, and thinkers who refused to bow to chaos. Self-control over emotion. Marcus Aurelius warned, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And so we are called to pause before anger erupts, before doubt consumes, before fear dictates our steps, because the world is shaped not by what happens to us, but by how we respond. In this shared journey, we begin to understand that every emotion seeks to command us, but only the disciplined rise above their impulses and reclaim control. As we walk further into the heart of this path, the second lesson breathes through the silence, the courage to face pain without surrender. Seneca once wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage, not courage in the grand battles of history, but in the private wars waged within our hearts. The pain of loss, the fear of failure, the weight of inadequacy. The world may push us to our knees, yet something inside demands that we stand again. Not because pain disappears, but because pain cannot break those who refuse to yield." There is no comfort promised here, only the certainty that endurance builds a deeper version of ourselves. One unshaken, unbroken, unstoppable. And together we learn that we do not rise despite the suffering. We rise through it. Lesson 3 emerges like a shadow at our back. Focus only on what can be controlled. Epictetus warned that misery is born when we cling to illusions of control over the uncontrollable. How many nights have we lost battling storms we could never command? The opinions of others, the unpredictable future, the cruelty of chance. Yet clarity arrives when we separate what belongs to us from what does not. Our actions, our words, our decisions, these are ours to forge. Outcomes, judgments, destiny never were. When we release the burden of trying to control the world, we finally gain mastery over ourselves. We stop chasing everything and start becoming something. The fourth lesson moves like a quiet fire. Gratitude in hardship. Not gratitude for blessings alone, but gratitude for the moments that test and sharpen us. The Stoics believed obstacles were not barriers, but training, life forging us like steel and flame. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, Marcus Aurelius declared. And within those words a transformation unfolds. Problems stop appearing as curses and become opportunities. Setbacks stop appearing as defeats and become lessons. We discover that every hardship we survive becomes another layer of strength no one can take from us. What once hurt us, now builds us. Finally, the fifth lesson of this first part reaches us like a mirror. Know yourself without lies. Most people run from their own reflection, hiding flaws behind excuses and potential behind fear. But we cannot become someone better if we refuse to meet who we are today. The warrior within us demands brutal honesty. Where are we weak? Where do we lack discipline? Where do we hide behind comfort? Only when we expose our shortcomings to the light can we begin to transform them. There is no shame in imperfection. The shame is in refusing to grow. And when we look inward without fear, we open the gate to everything we can become. The sixth lesson rises like a specter from every mistake we have ever made. Learn from failure without self-destruction. Many punish themselves endlessly for their errors, as if shame could rewrite the past. But the ancient masters knew better. They studied failure like a map, not a sentence. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man without trials." Every wrong turn, every abandoned dream, every humiliating moment contains a truth capable of rebuilding us stronger than before. We do not escape our failures by forgetting them. We escape them by understanding them, dissecting them, and vowing never to fall the same way twice. It is not perfection that transforms us, but the stubborn determination to rise after every collapse. Again and again, until our scars become instruction rather than pain. The seventh lesson arrives with the weight of silence. Surround yourself with discipline, not distraction. The world seduces us with comfort, endless noise, empty pleasures, the constant escape from ourselves. We drown in stimulation and call it living while our potential quietly suffocates. Yet the Stoic path demands a revolt against ease. We trade comfort for purpose, entertainment for achievement, distraction for focus. Epictetus warned that a person cannot be both great and comfortable at the same time. And so, we forge habits that build us rather than break us. We guard our time like warriors guard their shields, because every minute spent chasing what does not matter is stolen from what could make us extraordinary. And in that discipline, we begin to see who we were always capable of becoming. The 8th lesson steps forward like a shadow turned ally. Accept mortality as fuel, not fear. Most people live as if life were infinite, wasting their hours on trivial battles and meaningless pursuits. But when we remember that time is finite, truly feel it, everything changes. We no longer postpone our dreams. We no longer tolerate mediocrity in ourselves. We no longer let fear decide for us. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Death does not diminish life. It intensifies it. It reminds us that every sunrise is a countdown, and every day unused is a day lost forever. Instead of fearing the end, we use it to sharpen how we live bravely, intentionally, urgently. The 9th lesson glows like embers in the cold. Serve something greater than yourself. True strength is not found in isolation but in contribution, lifting others, protecting those who are weaker, and building something that will outlive our bones. The Stoics believed that a person who lives only for themselves lives small, while a person who lives for the world lives vast. We feel this truth in the quiet moments, when helping another ignites something ancient and powerful inside us, a sense of meaning that no wealth or fame could ever replace. We are not meant to become better for ourselves alone. We are meant to become better so we can strengthen the ones who walk beside us. Our growth is not selfish, it is a gift. And the 10th lesson, the one that binds all others, whispers with the force of destiny. Become the example you wish existed. We crave heroes, role models, figures of unshakable will and integrity, yet few choose to become one. The Stoics did not preach strength. They embodied it in every choice, every reaction, every sacrifice. They lived the virtues they spoke, even when no one watched. And now the weight falls upon us, to stop expecting greatness from the world and start expecting it from ourselves. If we desire courage, we must act bravely. If we desire wisdom, we must seek truth. If we desire discipline, we must live without excuses. Because the answer to the question that followed us since the beginning, what does it take to become someone better, is not found in words, but in the life we choose to live from this moment forward. The journey leads us back to the place where everything began, the quiet hour before the world wakes. Where the question first echoed, what does it truly take to become someone better? Now, after 10 lessons carved into the spirit like marks of fire, we finally understand that becoming better is not a destination, but a vow renewed every day. It is waking up when the mind begs for comfort, acting with integrity when no one is watching, choosing discipline when chaos invites surrender. It is the refusal to let emotions command us, the courage to stand while fear trembles inside, the decision to rise even when hope feels absent. We return to that same silence not as we were, but as something forged, not perfect, but unbreakable, shaped by hardship rather than defined by it. We look around and realize we were never walking alone. Every human carries the same battles within, the same doubts, the same desire to become more than their shadows. That sense of us was the fuel all along. We grow not just for personal triumph, but because our strength grants others permission to find their own. When we master ourselves, we reduce the damage we cause. We act with clarity instead of impulse. We become pillars for those who falter. The Stoic lessons were never a cage. They were a key, unlocking a deeper version of humanity capable of compassion without weakness, courage without cruelty, ambition without arrogance. And when the world tests us, as it always will, we will not crumble, because what we are building inside cannot be taken by circumstance, misfortune, or fate. So now the answer reveals itself, the one withheld from the beginning, the truth we had to earn rather than be told. To become someone better is to win the war within. It is to govern our emotions instead of being ruled by them, to treat hardship as a teacher to live with, urgency and purpose, to serve something beyond ego, and to walk the world as the example we once searched for. The transformation does not announce itself with celebration. It appears quietly the moment we choose action over excuse, discipline over chaos, character over impulse. That is the moment we stop hoping to become better and finally become. The circle closes. But the journey never ends. Because greatness is not achieved once, it is upheld every single day, until our final breath. There is more to be said, because the battle within us never truly rests. Even after uncovering the answer, a new challenge emerges from the depths of the mind, the challenge of consistency. Anyone can be disciplined for a single day, courageous for a single moment, resilient in a single season of life. But becoming better demands persistence when motivation fades and nobody is watching. Seneca warned, "Long is the road through precepts, short and effective through examples." The world does not change because we decide once, it changes because we decide every day. And so we wake up each morning with the same question burning like an eternal test. Will we act according to impulse, or according to who we said we want to be? In that choice, silent, unseen, our destiny quietly shifts. There is another truth we must face, one most ignore because it terrifies the ego. We are not promised progress merely because we desire it. Improvement demands sacrifice, the sacrifice of excuses, of old habits, of the comforting yet destructive behaviors that once numbed our pain. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that a fulfilling life is born not from seeking pleasure, but from fulfilling one's duties with excellence. That is why many dream of becoming better, yet few endure the cost. We must be willing to feel discomfort, to embrace boredom and routine, to walk paths where applause does not follow. The transformation of character is not dramatic or glamorous. It is forged in repetition, in solitude, in the slow burning of self-confrontation, and it is precisely that struggle that makes the victory meaningful. But the deeper we walk this path, the more we discover something unexpected, the peace hidden inside effort. People believe peace comes from avoiding responsibility, hiding from discomfort, and chasing endless escape. Yet they only become more restless, more lost. The Stoics knew what the world still refuses to accept. True inner peace comes from living in alignment with our highest values. When our actions reflect our ideals, the mind becomes quiet. When our word matches our conduct, guilt dissolves. When we stop running from who we are and start building who we could be, the soul finally breathes. And then, even in chaos, we carry stability. Even in uncertainty, we carry direction. Even in storms, we carry calm. Not because life became easy, but because we became stronger. So yes, there is always more, because the path of becoming better does not end, it deepens. And every time the question returns to haunt the silence, what does it take to become someone better? We answer not with speeches, not with dreams, but with the lives we choose to lead. The world does not need more words, it needs more examples. And if we are brave enough to live with discipline, courage, humility, and purpose, then every person who crosses our path will feel their own flame awaken. Growth is contagious. Honor is contagious. Strength is contagious. We become better not just for ourselves, but so that we all of us rise higher together. There is a moment in every internal battle when the mind whispers that effort is useless, that change is impossible, that darkness is stronger than discipline. That voice is not the enemy, it is the test. The Stoics warn that the greatest threats do not come from the outside world, but from the quiet corridor of thought where doubt attempts to steal our purpose. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Improvement demands the courage to be misunderstood, to be doubted, to be underestimated, because transformation begins long before others can see it. We continue not because the world believes in us, but because we refuse to betray our own potential. And when we continue, despite internal resistance, a shocking revelation occurs. The voice insisting we will fail weakens, and the voice urging us to rise becomes familiar, commanding, unstoppable. There is another burden we must face on this path, the loneliness of growth. The further we walk toward discipline and purpose, the more we realize how many choose the comfort of stagnation. People drift toward ease, while we walk toward responsibility. They avoid discomfort, while we master it. They surrender to impulse, while we learn to dominate it. And so the road can feel cold, silent, abandoned, but that is only because few have the courage to walk it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that a person seeking virtue must not depend on applause. True growth does not need witnesses. We do not persevere for validation. We persevere because we have chosen who we intend to become. And when loneliness arrives, we greet it not as punishment, but as proof. If the path feels empty, it is because we are walking where only the strong are willing to go. Then something unexpected happens. Slowly, and almost invisibly, life begins to bend in the direction of our discipline. Opportunities appear where chaos once ruled. Respect replaces pity. Confidence replaces insecurity. Fear still exists, but it no longer commands, it follows. A person who conquers themselves is not intimidating because of aggression, but because of presence, a controlled mind, an unshakable purpose, an inner silence immune to manipulation. Seneca wrote, "To be calm is the highest achievement of the self." And so we discover the secret that the world tries to hide. Mastery does not come from dominating others, it comes from dominating our own impulses, reactions, and weaknesses. When we do that, life's storms stop feeling like threats, and start feeling like opportunities to prove what we have become. So we continue walking, not because the journey becomes easier, but because we become stronger than everything trying to break us. The person we once were, impulsive, afraid, reactive, begins to feel like a distant memory. In their place stands someone forged through hardship, sharpened by responsibility, empowered by purpose. The world may never understand the sacrifices that shaped us, and it does not need to, because the reward is not admiration. The reward is waking up in the morning knowing we are no longer ruled by chaos. That is the silent victory the Stoics lived for. The kind of greatness that leaves no scars on others and leaves no regrets within ourselves. And as long as we continue defeating the weaknesses that once defined us, becoming better stops being an aspiration and becomes our identity. There comes a point when discipline evolves into something even greater. Inner authority, We no longer fight every urge because urges lose their power. We no longer wrestle the emotions because emotions learn their place. The mind that once trembled now gives commands, and the body obeys without hesitation. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself that the greatest victory is to remain upright, not kept upright. Strength is no longer something we perform, it becomes something we are. We wake without waiting for motivation. We act without needing applause. We pursue what is right without bargaining with comfort. And then we notice something terrifying and beautiful. The world stops controlling us because it no longer knows how to reach us. What once easily broke us now barely scratches the surface. Not because life became gentle, but because we became immovable. But with inner authority comes the next trial, responsibility for the influence we cast. People begin to watch how we respond to adversity, how we handle injustice, how we treat those who cannot benefit us. Without realizing it, we become the standard that others measure themselves against. Seneca said, "The greatest good is a mind that scorns chance events and rests in itself." When others witness such steadiness, they are stirred, some with admiration, others with envy, but all with awareness that a stronger way of living is possible. We become mirrors reflecting the potential of the human spirit. Our resilience becomes a lesson. Our calm becomes a lighthouse. Without speaking, we challenge those around us to confront their own excuses. And this is where the path demands humility, because the moment we grow for recognition, we fall from virtue. Strength must remain service, not ego. Eventually we learn that the final battle is not with weakness, it is with comfort disguised as peace. The world will try to convince us that we have done enough, that we have earned rest, that we no longer need to push further. But there is a danger in reaching stability. Comfort slowly corrodes greatness when we mistake it for fulfillment. The Stoics feared stagnation more than failure, because stagnation is invisible. It feels safe while destroying potential. Epictetus warned that complacency is the slow erosion of virtue. And so, when life becomes easy, we do not retreat into softness. We raise the standard, not to suffer, not to punish ourselves, but because purpose does not retire. If we stop growing, we begin dying long before the body knows it. The fire inside must remain fed, not with chaos, but with challenge. And once we understand this, the path transforms again. It is no longer about becoming better than others, but about becoming better for others. We do not climb so we can look down on the world, but so we can lift the world up with us. Children, friends, strangers, even enemies are changed by the example of someone who lives with unwavering character. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what matters most is not what we leave behind in stone or monuments, but the imprint we leave on the souls of others. That imprint becomes immortality. People forget achievements, they never forget how a person of integrity makes them feel. So we continue, not for trophies, not for legacy, but because the stronger we become, the more others discover the strength within themselves. And that, more than anything, is the mark of a life lived with purpose. There comes a stage where the mind becomes so sharp that reality can no longer deceive it, and this is where the next trial appears, the fear of our own potential. Because once we realize we can endure anything, excuses vanish, and with them goes the comfortable illusion that weakness is inevitable. The Stoics warned that the greatest terror is not failure, but responsibility for greatness. When we recognize what we are capable of, we lose the right to live small. Seneca wrote that a person who is aware of their power yet refuses to act commits a crime against themselves. And so the internal battle intensifies, not because we are weak, but because destiny begins demanding more of us. The question shifts from "can I become better?" to "do I dare live as the strongest version of myself every day?" That question haunts the brave because it forces us to abandon every last fragment of the person we once were in order to fully become the one we were meant to be. And when we step into that version, when we stop negotiating with our fear, something monumental unfolds. We become architects of the future rather than survivors of the present. We stop reacting to life and start directing it. Marcus Aurelius believed that the purpose of strength is to create a world where others can stand taller. And this becomes our instinct not to dominate, but to build. We develop the unshakable patience to teach, the courage to protect, the empathy to lead without ego. Even our silence influences the room, not through intimidation, but through certainty. The world begins to change because of who we are, not because of what we demand. And the legacy we leave is not carved into walls or written in books, but carried inside every life we strengthened simply by existing. As proof that discipline can conquer chaos, that virtue can conquer suffering, and that a human being can become something far greater than a circumstance ever allowed.